The great flame trench race is on. Can Florida catch up to Starbase? Booster 17 rolls out and Ship 37 is coming together. SpaceX prepares for the largest change in Starship development. Block 3 is coming. A key component of Artemis arrives for integration and more space-based solar breakthroughs. And who wants to get a 60-year-old satellite from orbit? I do. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Starship updates. Things are moving at light speed at the Cape with the new Starship launchpad. For weeks we've provided you with lots of updates about the massive flame trench SpaceX is building in South Texas. We've documented the hundreds of cement trucks making their way down Highway 4 to the launch site, but it appears that Florida is not that far behind. Recent satellite imagery shows the work at Kennedy Space Center is not far behind. The flame trench is rapidly taking shape here, and the path to Starships launching from Florida is quickly coming together. The production site at Starbase is waking up again as we mourn the loss of the high bay. There are tons of new and exciting developments to celebrate. After being tucked away in the dark recesses of Mega Bay 1 for weeks, Booster 17 made its first public appearance Monday night as it rolled out to Massey's for cryo testing. This is the newest known fully stacked booster at Starbase. SpaceX has already determined that it will reuse Booster 14 for Flight 9, and final preparations are underway. So the earliest opportunity for this booster to launch would be Flight 11. It'll be interesting to see what fate awaits Booster 17. With reuse, it will get much harder to predict which booster is slated for which flight. We've also got new ship activity. Ship 35 is obviously the main focus right now as we close in on Flight 9, but SpaceX has also been working hard at stacking Ship 37. Various aft sections are rolled into Mega Bay 2 before stacking. Could Ship 37 be paired up with Booster 17 down the road? We have one more very exciting news about Starship today. Look at what we spotted inside the Star Factory. This is an image that Jack Beyer from NSF was able to grab. It's Ship 39. More specifically, it's a header tank assembly for Ship 39. That is the tank assembly all the way up in the tip of the nose of a ship, responsible for providing propellant during landing when the ship is in a horizontal position. Now, I don't want to explain what a header tank is, I want to guide your view to a scribbling on this part. Okay, let's take a look again. Maybe turn the image and now read this. It says V3 LOX cone and there is a serial number. It says V3. This could very well be a confirmation that Ship 39 is the first Block 3 Starship and that we might be able to see this fly in 5 launches from now. That should still be this year. Now you might be asking, what's the big deal? And I would respond by saying that this is the most significant change in the history of the Starship development program. Yeah. Here's a comparison of the current Block 2 Starship and the coming Block 3. For starters, Block 3 will have a much higher payload capacity. While Block 2's payload capacity is roughly 100 plus tons, Block 3 is supposed to ramp it up significantly. SpaceX is talking 200 plus tons as an aspirational goal. That is a lot of tons. As I said, this is the most significant upgrade in the entire history of Starship development. Which gets us to number 2, an enhanced upper stage performance. The ship's initial thrust rises from 1600 tons of thrust to 2700, and the number of vacuum raptors, or short RVACs, is rising to 6, totaling at 9 engines for the upper stage on Block 3 instead of 6. As said, the changes are significant. Next up, if you want to run more engines, you need more fuel. And Block 3 has it in abundance. SpaceX is ramping up the fuel capacity significantly from 1500 tons on Block 2 to 2300 tons on Block 3. This increase allows for longer missions, more fuel for in-space maneuvers, or carrying additional payload mass. It aligns with SpaceX's strategy of in-space refueling, crucial for Mars missions, and supports the vehicle's reusability by ensuring sufficient reserves for multiple uses. Finally, sometimes size does matter, right? The ship is going to grow massively. Currently, the upper stage of SpaceX's Starship is 52.1 meters tall. This Block 3 ship, on the other hand, will grow to 69.8 meters. This larger size provides more internal volume, potentially for additional payload, crew accommodations, or systems like life support for extended missions. It also may allow for structural improvements such as better heat shielding or landing systems, though specific details on these aspects are not fully disclosed yet. Fun fact, the size increase in the upper stage and later in the Block 3 booster as well will stretch a Starship full stack from the current 124.4 meters to a mind-boggling 150 meters. Picture the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor, one of the most iconic monuments everyone knows. The Statue of Liberty, from the base of its pedestal to the tip of its torch, is about 93 meters tall. Now stack another half of her on top, essentially 1.5 Statues of Liberty, and you're right at the height of the Starship Block 3 full stack. There is your daily bombshell. Starship will grow even more and sooner than anyone would have expected. Before we go into detail on the Lunar Gateway assembly, our channel metrics show over 4 million returning monthly viewers who have not subscribed yet. Help improve the channel and double check that you've hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with our updates. Like this video if you appreciate the content and become a wise supporter for extra content. Secure your access to up to 7 picture galleries per week, satellite, aerial and ground photos and 3D animations. Chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. The entire team is waiting for you, you rock! NASA welcomed the HALO module for the Gateway Lunar Space Station to the US, marking a key step in building a hub for Artemis missions. On April 3rd, NASA celebrated the arrival of the Habitation and Logistics Outpost module for the Gateway Lunar Space Station at Northrop Grumman's facility in Gilbert, Arizona. It arrived after a 5,800-kilometer journey from Thales Alenia Space plant in Turin, Italy. HALO, one of 2 initial gateway elements alongside the power and propulsion element, short PPE, will provide living quarters, science labs and command functions for astronauts orbiting the moon. That sounds good. The module, measuring 9 meters long and 4.3 meters in diameter with a pressurized volume of 70 cubic meters, was shipped across the Atlantic, reaching California on March 24th before its overland trip to Arizona. So much stuff happened on my birthday! The HALO module's delivery follows its completion of structural testing in Italy, where it endured acoustic, thermal and vibration stresses to ensure it can withstand launch and lunar orbit conditions. Northrop Grumman will now integrate HALO with the PPE, already at the facility since 2023, ahead of a planned 2027 launch on a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket from Kennedy Space Center. Gateway, orbiting in a near rectilinear halo orbit around the moon, will support Artemis 4 and beyond, serving as a staging point for lunar landings and deep space exploration. HALO's systems include environmental controls, crew interfaces and docking ports for the Orion spacecraft and lunar landers, with contributions from international partners like ESA, JAXA and the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. This milestone helps to advance NASA's Artemis program, which is aiming to return humans to the moon and prepare for Mars missions. Gateway's unique orbit, ranging from 3,000 to 70,000 kilometers from the lunar surface, offers constant Earth communication and access to the moon's far side. Artemis 2's core stage integration is now complete, along with the launch vehicle stage adapter installation. Progress on all fronts with lots of news everywhere, but which one can be trusted? Today's sponsor helps. Okay, is a Chinese spacecraft practicing dogfighting maneuvers in orbit? A headline like this can spread misinformation fast. That is why I use a trusted tool to cut through the noise: Ground News. Let's take a closer look at ground.news/y or scan the QR code on screen. Such news paints a threatening scenario, but if you dare to take a second look, you will soon find that often there are many sides to every story. Reports suggest China is training with combat satellites, fueling fears of space warfare. Ground News uncovered over 70 sources, with more than half rated as highly factual. That still leaves a third with questionable factuality. Reading through the headline, you can see some leaning towards sensationalism, building up a sense of real threat in the reader. Like this one: Space Force says a Chinese spacecraft is practicing dogfighting maneuvers in orbit. Others say China slams US dogfighting satellites claim as budget-driven ploy. One event, 2 completely different narratives. Stay ahead of biased headlines with Ground News. Follow your favorite topics like space or aviation to stay up to date on breaking news you otherwise might have missed. It's ad-free, subscriber-funded, and aligns with what we do at Y, promoting better understanding through informed discussion. Go to ground.news/WAI or scan the QR code for 40% off unlimited access. Download the mobile app and use the offer code WAI for the same plan I use. That's ground.news/why. Get the whole story. Thank you, Ground News. Axiom Space has unveiled plans to launch 2 orbital data center nodes set to transform how we process data in space for a range of global clients. These nodes, to be hosted on Axiom Station, the world's first commercial space station, will support national security, commercial and international customers by providing advanced data processing capabilities. Axiom Station's first module is slated to launch in 2026, initially attaching to the International Space Station before becoming an independent platform by 2028 ahead of the ISS's planned 2030 retirement. The ODC nodes aim to deliver Earth-independent cloud services, meaning they can process data in orbit without relying on terrestrial infrastructure. So a cloud actually even above the clouds. Yeah. This capability, developed in collaboration with partners like Kepler Communications and Skyloom Global, will enable high-bandwidth data connectivity, real-time voice and video for Axiom Station's crew, and rapid data transport for experiments. The nodes will use optical inter-satellite links, achieving a throughput of up to 10 gigabits per second. Shut up and take my money. Applications include artificial intelligence, machine learning, data fusion, and in-space cybersecurity, supporting use cases like Earth observation, space weather analysis, and secure communications for defense clients. Axiom's groundwork for this project began with a prototype on the ISS in 2024, followed by the Data Center Unit 1 launch in spring 2025, testing cloud computing and cybersecurity in microgravity. Etherflux has secured $50 million to advance its space-based solar power vision, aiming to beam energy from orbit to Earth. These are all the things that are now finally becoming feasible. This brings their total funding to $60 million, including $10 million from founder Baiju Bhatt, the billionaire co-founder of Robinhood. The company plans to use the funds to accelerate development of a low Earth orbit satellite constellation that will collect solar energy and transmit it to ground stations using infrared lasers, with a demonstration mission targeted for 2026. Bhatt, who left his day-to-day role at Robinhood in 2024 to focus on Etherflux, draws on his physics and mathematics background from Stanford and a lifelong passion for space inspired by his father's work at NASA. Etherflux's approach diverges from traditional space-based solar power concepts, which often involve massive geostationary satellites beaming microwaves to large ground rectennas. Instead, their modular design uses smaller satellites at 550 kilometers altitude, aiming to deliver power to remote or contested areas, starting with defense applications like forward operating bases. I've talked about exactly this concept on live streams before. The company has already demonstrated power transmission in the lab and secured funding from the US Department of Defense's Operational Energy Capability Improvement Fund to develop a proof of concept. Their ground stations, planned to be 5 to 10 meters in diameter, will use photovoltaic arrays to convert the laser energy into electricity, with the first demo aiming to power a ground installation. The startup, staffed by engineers from NASA, SpaceX, and the US Navy, faces significant challenges, including regulatory hurdles and the unproven scalability of laser-based power transmission. Pew pew! A 2023 Caltech experiment successfully beamed microwave power from orbit, but Etherflux's laser method remains a tougher technical feat. With China and the European Space Agency advancing their own space solar initiatives, Etherflux's push aligns with a global race for energy innovation, though a recent NASA report questioned the cost-effectiveness of such systems compared to terrestrial renewables. Still, the potential to deliver power anywhere, anytime keeps the dream alive. What do you think about this venture? Will this be dangerous? Will it work? Do you have improvement ideas? Let me know in the comments below. What about you? Do you want to see something insanely cool in the spaceflight industry from a different perspective? Check out redlineheli.com/Felix for a once-in-a-lifetime experience and $25 off flying in a helicopter above Starbase. The Redline helicopter team is waiting for you. They'll show you the same views our photographers get on their Starbase flights. Give it a try. Let's talk big money now. The US Space Force has handed out $13.7 billion in launch contracts to SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, and Blue Origin, assigning critical national security missions through 2032. Earlier this month, the US Space Force's Space Systems Command revealed that SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, and Blue Origin were awarded contracts totaling $13.7 billion under the National Security Space Launch Phase 3 Lane 2 program. This firm fixed price indefinite delivery contract spanning fiscal years 2027 to 2032 allocates funding for 54 high-priority missions for the Department of Defense, focusing on complex launches to high-energy orbits like medium Earth orbit and geosynchronous transfer orbit. SpaceX secured the largest share at $5.9 billion for 28 launches, accounting for about 60% of the total missions. ULA received $5.4 billion for 19 launches, while Blue Origin, founded by Jeff Bezos, earned $2.4 billion for 7 launches, with its missions starting in the program's second year once its New Glenn rocket is certified. The NSSL Phase 3 Lane 2 targets the most demanding national security payloads, such as secure communication satellites, missile warning systems, and navigation assets requiring stringent mission assurance and reliability. SpaceX will rely on its proven Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets, building on its position as the world's most active launch provider. Over 100 launches in 2024 alone, and a growing tally of military missions, including the recent NROL-69 for the National Reconnaissance Office, speak for themselves. ULA, which certified its Vulcan Centaur rocket on March 26th after years of delays, will phase out its Atlas V, ending dependence on Russian RD-180 engines. This move has clearly been driven by geopolitical tensions since 2014. Blue Origin's entry into Lane 2 is its first major NSSL contract. However, New Glenn, which flew once in January 2025, must complete certification to meet the program's rigorous standards, a process that could stretch into 2026. In NSSL Phase 2, valued at $6 billion, ULA held a 60% share with 26 launches, while SpaceX took 40% with 14. This segment of the launch market is the most contested and fiercely protected part of the cake. SpaceX gaining shares here is a direct result of flawless work and the relentless pace of innovation. A team of experts has proposed returning Vanguard 1, the oldest satellite still orbiting Earth after 67 years, for study and display. You can't imagine how happy I am about this proposal. On April 4th, a group of aerospace engineers, historians, and writers proposed retrieving Vanguard 1, the oldest human-made object still in orbit, launched by the US Naval Research Laboratory on March 17, 1958, from Cape Canaveral, Florida. This aluminum sphere, just about 15 centimeters in diameter, became the first satellite to use solar power, equipped with 6 solar cells that powered its beacon until it went silent in May 1964. Now, Vanguard 1 has completed over 197,000 orbits, traveling more than 10.5 billion kilometers, a distance stretching beyond Pluto and halfway back. Simply unimaginably long. The proposal, presented at an American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics conference, outlines using advanced technology to inspect and possibly retrieve the satellite. Please retrieve it, please. Options include a robotic mission, potentially adapting a DARPA-funded spacecraft with robotic arms, or a crewed approach, using a modified SpaceX Crew Dragon similar to the one used in Jared Isaacman's Polaris Dawn mission. The team suggests Vanguard 1 could be moved to a lower orbit for capture or brought to the International Space Station for repacking and return. Does that come with free return? Once back, others see it as a unique chance to study long-term space exposure effects on its solar cells, batteries, and metals, plus micrometeorite impacts over nearly 7 decades, offering insights into material durability for future spacecraft. Vanguard 1's historical significance is immense. As the 4th satellite to reach orbit after Sputnik 1, Sputnik 2 and Explorer 1, it helped confirm Earth's pear-shaped oblateness and provided early data on atmospheric drag, refining our understanding of orbital dynamics. Oblateness refers to the degree to which an object, typically a planet or star, is flattened at its poles and bulges at its equator, making it less than a perfect sphere. Not as much as flat earthers believe, but it's not entirely round. Its high orbit, initially expected to last 2,000 years, has been revised to about 240 years due to solar radiation pressure and atmospheric drag, meaning it'll re-enter around the late 22nd century. So there is still time to decide. The retrieval idea could see Vanguard 1 displayed at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, preserving a space-age relic. Which is something we should really start doing. ISS anyone? The US Space Force pulled off an impressive feat last year with a fast-tracked GPS-3 satellite launch showcasing their ability to adapt on the fly. They are hoping to do it again. The NSSL's GPS-3-7 mission is currently slated to launch no earlier than the end of next month from Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. They are trying to condense a 24-month preparation period into just 3 months. Ambitious? Very much so. The whole point is to retrieve a GPS satellite from storage, integrate it with a launch vehicle, and prepare it for launch as quickly as possible. Chop chop! This was a first-of-its-kind rapid response mission under the National Security Space Launch Program. The effort involved multiple Space Force units working in tandem, highlighting their ability to expedite critical missions when national security demands it. The GPS-3 satellite, part of a constellation designed by Lockheed Martin, enhances the global positioning system with improved accuracy, stronger anti-jamming capabilities, and a 15-year design life, a significant upgrade over its predecessors. Operating in medium Earth orbit at approximately 20,200 kilometers, it joins a network of 31 active GPS satellites, providing precise navigation and timing data for both military and civilian users worldwide. This launch is the 8th in the GPS-3 series since 2018, and it supports the Space Force's mission to ensure resilient space capabilities amid growing global competition. The Space Force's ability to compress a typical year-long process into months could set a precedent for future launches, especially as threats to satellite systems grow. That's it for today. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm. This is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A new Raptor design and our brand new Starship Block 2 design are both up. Link is in the description and in the card you should see now. Also check out our print store at shop.whataboutit.space to buy a picture for your favorite wall. A significant amount of every purchase goes directly to our photographer Jordan. And if you want to learn more about SpaceX's history and why Starship is skipping leg day, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Haha. To gazillions. Capabilities. Intelligence. 30%. 30%. Yeah, feels normal.